Hi everyone, welcome to our engineering open house. Today we are having mechanical engineering student panels. My name is Luz Sandoval Manjarres and I'm an academic advisor with the School of Engineering. This is one event of a series of events to welcome second year undergraduate students into the School of Engineering. During their first year, students see their Bobcat advisor in the Bobcat Advising Center. And at the completion of their first year, students then transition to their declared major advisors. We hope that you can join us in our event next week. This event will be recorded and it will be posted on our engineering advising website if you need to go back. You may ask questions through the Q&A box. So if throughout the panel you have questions, feel free to ask them there. Today we have 4 student panelists. We have Jasmine here, Luis Cardenas, Jared Chatas, and Scott Rummer. Thank you for joining us today. I will be facilitating and I will ask each of you some questions. If we can go ahead and start, can you please introduce yourself, tell us about yourself, and how did you choose to come to UC Merced?
So my name is Jasmine. I'm a 4th year mechanical engineering student. And I chose UC Merced mostly because I actually had a lot of family that went here. My older sister went here, my brother-in-law went here. I had a few cousins. And though the school was really small back then, the opportunity was very apparent that it was growing and it was going to be a great school. And honestly, it was an opportunity that I really couldn't pass up. Even if a lot of other students saw UC Merced as a school that wasn't too good just because the acceptance rate was very high at the time. There was just a lot of opportunity at UC Merced that was visible through my family that went there. So I took the chance when I got it.
All right, I could go next. My name is Luis Cardenas. I'm currently a 5th year mechanical engineering student. And along with kind of how what Jasmine explained, so the reason why I chose Merced over all the other universities that I applied to was the fact that since it was a new university and it was very research-based, it really opened a lot of opportunities that other UCs weren't offering. And also overall, since I'm from the Bay Area, I wanted to go to a university that was a little bit away from home, but also close enough. That way, if I ever wanted to visit family or friends, I was there for them as well. And overall, I definitely do not regret going to UC Merced. It's been a very pleasurable experience, and I really have enjoyed it here.
My name is Jared Chattis, and I think I can relate to a lot of people because back in high school, I was all right with my grades. I wasn't the best, but UC Merced was the only UC I actually got into, and I actually had a brother who went here, so I kind of knew what the school was about already. So obviously, in the beginning, Merced wasn't my first choice, but like Louis said, I'm actually glad I came here because it literally kind of changed my life and how my direction and my my dedication to being a mechanical engineering student. So yeah, that's the reason. I guess my reason for coming Merced in the beginning was not so profound, but towards the end, I really am glad that I came here.
Hi, my name is Sky Rummer. I'm a 4th year mechanical engineering student. Kind of like Jared, this wasn't my first choice, but my parents are veterans, so I'm able to come here. And this was the only UC that accepted me. In the beginning, like Jared, I wasn't too psyched about coming, but since being here, it has opened a lot of opportunities that we'll probably talk about later in the session. But without being here, I probably wouldn't have had the same opportunities or be where I am right now. So.
Thank you, everyone. And can you talk a little bit about the mechanical engineering classes that you've taken or any lower division classes that helped you prepare for the classes you're taking now?
So a lot of the classes, the lower division classes that I found helpful was actually not lower division, this is the upper div writing for engineers. The reason I found that one to be so helpful is because I feel like a lot of the time when as an engineer, one thing that I really enjoy doing is proposing ideas. I like to take an idea, run with it, but at the same time, I'm not really sure how to explain that idea to somebody else. And I think explaining and the communication part of engineering is really important. And writing 119 was actually really able to help me understand how to properly communicate, not just through writing, but also with peers. I found that to be helpful in my job that I have here with the School of Engineering as well. And a lot of the upper division classes, they are a struggle. They do grind your gears, but I think that our professors here they're really good at what they do. And if you reach out to them, if you really apply yourself, like sometimes apply above and beyond, like it's rewarding. So be prepared for the classes, the upper division ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of from my background, coming into UC Merced and taking, the lower division classes like M1, Physics 8, and all those classes, it was a little bit overwhelming at first because like walking into class, there was like 150 students to 200, and it was just really overwhelming. But some big like key concepts that I understood from being in those classes, how you recognize how applicable a specific area of science is to other majors. Like when I was in physics, I met a lot of bioengineers who were taking that class and computer scientists, and just understanding how everything ties into one another was very interesting. And it really helped me understand like what kind of engineering area I wanted to go in the future. And another class that really stood out to me when I was in my first 2 years of Merced was Engineering 57. And I really loved that class because it was a class where, you applied all your physics, your math into one class. And it was the first engineering class that really caught my attention, because in that class, they make you do a bridge project where you apply all of your calculations and put it onto a physical object. And overall, like the biggest like messages I took away from that class is how important it is and how important engineers are when it comes to making decisions for people who will be crossing a bridge, people who will be using a building. And just being able to express what your calculations is and putting it on a model, that whole process really made me want to be an engineer even more, because it was very interesting, and hearing all the insight from our professors who have been in the industry for a long time was really interesting, and really made me want to go and continue with the engineering program at UC Merced.
Mm-hmm. So like Luis was saying, Engineering 57, man, that was a good class in terms of like, like what you want to do. So like how I started at UC Merced in terms of my classes is like I started from like the very bottom when it came to like the prerequisites. I had Math 5 and like Chem 1, all those classes. So I pretty much did like every single class on every level. And I would say that personally, from my experience, I made sure to get my what's it called? I made sure to get like all like the non-elective classes out of the way, like writing, history, like all the classes I needed. And honestly, I can't really explain why I did that in the beginning, but it turns out like it was, for me personally, I feel like a lot of people can relate. Like it didn't really, like Louis was saying, it was kind of overwhelming when you're in like a big lecture. So imagine you're in like a lecture like math 21 or something, or like, yeah, basically like that's that's basically the first calculus class you take. And say you don't know the material, like it's kind of hard because you have people that do know the material, and then it kind of makes you feel out of place. And imagine that, and then doing that on like math 23 or something like that. Like imagine like jumping. So like, I mean, it's good to jump, but I feel like to really get into like the whole college feel, it was better to take like my like non-electives first. But I understand like if you can't remember the material and stuff, but I turned out fine. In terms of like, I really like that Luis said Engineering 57, because like Engineering 57 is really like, I can't stress this enough. It depends on who you have, but if you will most likely have Rice, and he is a good teacher, and he's a character for sure. But let's just say like he's really passionate about like telling you like like straight up, like he's very blunt. He's very blunt with what his approach. He's telling you like, if you want to be an engineer, you have to like do this and do that. And I think like Engineering 57 really like made me realize if I wanted to be an engineer or not. And like I know a lot of people who have failed Engineering 57 and they still took it and then passed again. So it's not like something you should get really scared about, but like it is something that you should very like, that is probably the one class that changes you like in terms of like your study habits and like being a student. So I would keep that on the radar if you take with Rice, because Rice is like very, it can be a difficult teacher at times, but is also a very good teacher. And then I've taken like eventually you'll find like a class you like. Eventually you'll find like I'm in aerodynamics with like Venkat Aswami, and like I really like him and he's a good professor, and like that's like you kind of have to go through like the mud to get to like where you want to be. So that's my experience.
Yeah, my experience was a little different. I came into UC Merced and I'd completed my GE already. So I jumped straight into all the engineering courses and science courses. I skipped Chem 1 and went to Chem 2 because I thought, oh, I could do the placement exam and I'll be right where everyone else is. And that was a mistake. Chem 2 was probably the hardest class. Looking back, I was like, it wasn't that hard, but that's because I'm a fourth year now. But coming in first semester, freshman year, and I remember my professor being like, oh, from Chem 1, and I was like, well, I don't know. So I do recommend Jared's route. I didn't take Math 5, I went to Math 21, but I already knew calculus, so that wasn't a big deal for me. But if there's subjects that you're not too familiar with, like chemistry for me has always been a struggle in high school and clearly in college, don't worry about being in Chem 1 instead of Chem 2. Like everyone goes at their own pace, and it's not worth the sacrifice of your grades or even your sanity just to be ahead. But I agree with everyone about Engineering 57. I took that my second semester freshman year, and I remember in my bridge project there were third and fourth years on my team, and they were talking about all these different equations we could use, and I was like, I only have the ones he gave us because that was my extent of knowledge. But I remember all those exams and just being so terrified to fail, but it's okay to fail because that's how you learn. I feel like, especially like this is an upper division class, Math 125, and I remember I failed the first midterm and I was like, wow. And even my teacher wrote on it, what are you doing? And I was like, dang, I don't know. And so it really just like instills in you, go to office hours. I can't stress that enough, and pay attention in your lower division classes because they will refer to them in all your upper divs and even in internships, because I didn't pay that close of attention in Engineering 65. And in my past internship, I was working on a circuit board and I had no idea what was going on, and I had to go learn as much as I can in like 30 minutes to try and get this project done. So don't forget the basics before you move on is my key point.
And that kind of transitions into our next question. What are some good academic behaviors to be successful in engineering courses?
I think Sky made a great point. Talking to your TAs is definitely something that I would recommend. I mean, your TAs are kind of in that transition period between being an undergrad and a graduate student themselves, and they definitely understand like the struggles, the questions that you're gonna like probably have. A lot of them are really down to earth, and a lot of them really want to help. Like they set aside office hours, and most of the time they already know like what it is you're struggling with. So if you're kind of afraid of like them judging you or something like that, I would say it's all right. Like literally everyone, like professors, TAs at UC Merced, they're there to help you. Like they will Like some professors will go above and beyond and be like, if you can't reach me during office hours, you could reach me, like just email me, like we could set something else up. The opportunity to get help is definitely there. And again, like Sky said, like paying attention in your lower division classes really helps because that stuff comes up. It's like the foundation, it's like the basics. And a lot of the time they connect with each other. So if you could find those little patterns between your classes in terms of the information you learn, it'll really help you in the long run. So yeah, best advice I could give is don't be afraid to reach out to your professors and your TAs because they really do want to help you and they really do want to see you succeed. And you know, that's all what we're here for.
Yeah, adding on to Jasmine's advice, there's like three main points that I've learned so far here at UC Merced when it comes to keeping your academics. So the first one ties into what Jasmine said. Don't be afraid to seek out for help. There's TAs, there's professors, there's resources that are on campus that can help you get through a certain problem that you may not understand. And overall, it's really nice being able to reach out to somebody who has done what you're working on beforehand because they can give you advice and can give you some techniques or tips on how to actually approach a problem or to finish a project. For those that are maybe first or second years, like it is kind of like you get kind of anxious, like reaching out to a TA or a professor because you feel like they might be scary or whatnot. But trust me, like you want to get advice from the people who are giving you the tests because they'll guide you exactly with what you need to know for to be successful in that class. And also for first and second years or third years even, reach out to upperclassmen who have already taken those classes because from there, the people who've already taken classes, they know information about professors and they could tell you, oh, this professor has his exams are like this, he loves to teach this and stuff like that, and they could give you a lot of advice. The second piece of advice that I've learned at UC Merced is don't ever think you're too smart to ask a question. Like for me, whenever I go to a person or I go to my professor, I try to like ask questions the dumbest way possible. Like for example, like if somebody put a negative sign in one of the equations they use, I say, why did you put a negative sign there, not a positive? So don't ever think you're too smart to ask a question because people who ask dumb questions are the ones who end up getting smarter because they understand the basics of a problem. So that's what I really suggest for you guys. And then the third advice that I've also learned as well is once you're studying, make sure to form study groups with your friends or whoever else is teaching that class because it gives you the opportunity to teach the people you're studying with. And if you teach somebody, that means you already know the material and it gives you a lot of practice to be fully confident with your skills. So those are the three main tips that I just wanted to share that have worked for me personally.
Yeah, honestly, Luis hit a nail on the spot with that. He like when it comes to study groups, they are like pretty essential in terms of like teaching, like or your professors too. They will guide you like on how to take the exam and like what questions you should look for because you're learning like a bunch of material. Like you're not going to be able to like cram all that in for like one exam. So if you go to the office hours, I remember like thermodynamics. I went to the office hours for that. It seemed like a really hard course, like just looking at it. Went to the office hours for that and I did really good in the class, like, and that was because like I talked to the teacher and had like an actual discussion with them and then like knew about the material beforehand and like knew how to do it. So they are there to like help you and stuff. And in terms of study groups, my personal recommendation is like, cause I'm good with study groups, but I like to learn the material first before I jump into study group. Cause like I kind of slack off and I can't like focus or something, but that's just me personally. But like, what I usually do I get into like, I'd study at home and then I'd come to like the library early in the morning and like be in a study group right before the midterm. And like, that really helps because you do teach people and that really helps. And honestly, like just a personal like anecdote from my study habits. So like, when I started at UC Merced, I was like playing video games in my dorm, like not really like tripping too much about classes. Granted, I was taking like the Gs and stuff, so like you don't really have to worry too much about them. That's why I recommend it to like enjoy your freshman years and stuff. But yeah, so I was like kind of, you know, not the best study habit person. Then I took some classes, took engineering 57. I failed both midterms. Still, you know, still got a good decent grade in the class. Like it's not wrong to fail midterms either, but like I feel like you're going to experience some challenge that looks too difficult to overcome at first. Like when I failed the engineering 57 midterm, I literally had like an ultimatum, like, do I want to do this? And if you push through, like, you will find out that you actually become like a better study habit person. Like I remember I stopped playing like video games and stuff like that. Like I actually started like caring about what I was doing. So like, even if you come from a background where you're like not that much into school, like you kind of flew by in like high school, like you got by with like the grades you had and stuff, like you'll develop. Like it's not like you can just, not everyone has like that special thing about them that can make them study immediately. But I definitely do recommend like going to office hours. I definitely do recommend like read the book if you have time. Like the book is a good like thing to read, especially with example. Oh, I cannot stress this enough. The one thing I can say the most is like do examples. Like example problems are literally like how you do good in tests and how everything, like ask the teacher for example problems, like look at your book. I remember engineering 57, I looked at example problems like that weren't even assigned to us, and that helps a lot. So that's what I can say about my experience.
Yeah, as far as study habits, first year, well, first semester at least, uh, I would mainly study in my dorm at the desk they gave you, and none of the people I lived with were even STEM majors. And so I was like, why do I have so much homework? And why can't I just like go with them? I want to go to the mall, or not that the mall is anything great here, but even Target, I was like, I want to go meet people and stuff. Uh, but I got decent grades first semester, and then second semester when I got into engineering 57, I was like, nope. And the library was my home. Now, obviously, we're virtual. And so as far as advice on that, in my room personally, I have like my desk, and at my desk, if I'm here, I'm doing work. I don't even eat here or like watch shows, even in this chair, just because I'm like, if I'm sitting here, I need to do work. If I get in the habit of, oh, I'll just watch TV while I'm here, do something, then it's going to become a pattern. And so you kind of have to instill those things to yourself, things that will help you. Everyone's different. And so that's just me. And get a planner. If you think that you can manage to keep everything in your head along with everything you're studying, you're crazy, or you're the smartest person I know. But I have a planner, and I will plan out every single thing that I will do that day, from what I'm gonna eat even, because I'm like, then I'll be like, I didn't take anything out to eat and I'm just gonna starve all day. But especially for studying, I try to study about a week out. I'm like, I'll study these chapters today, then tomorrow these chapters, then these chapters, and then I'll set up a study group. I'm like, I've gone over this stuff. You guys want to go over these homeworks, so that I'm not like, oh, I have no idea what anyone's talking about. To kind of gear things towards you, especially for women in STEM, you're going to be one of few in your classes. Let me just tell you that. I think there was one class where I was the only girl in the lab, and you can't be intimidated by that, and you can't be afraid to tell someone. If you know the answer, just say it. Even if you're wrong, that's fine. Like, if they make fun of you, they're not going to. Everyone should be grown enough. But like, I know Jared personally, we study all the time. Sometimes I explain things to him and he explains things to me, and it's nothing about like who's smarter. It's just he understood that concept better and I understood another concept better, but now we both understand it. So that's what it's all about. And so just don't be afraid to ask for help, even from your peers. Like, that's how I've made some of my like closest friends, is I just leaned over, I was like, you know what he's saying? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm Sky. And so don't be afraid to do that. Even in, I guess, Zoom University, if someone's answering a question, just send them a little chat. And if they don't respond, I mean, nothing you can do. But I mean, that's the best advice, is to reach out for help, especially TAs, all these office hours. Like, I know my TAs are going above and beyond with office hours right now, which I appreciate, because I've been in a lab for the full 3 hours before. I think it was for vibrations. And I sat with the TA and I was like, I don't know how to code, so I'm going to sit here with you. And he sat there with me and talked me through the entire lab. And so they're there to help you. Please use your resources. Even PALS. I know PALS is on Zoom too. I've gone to a couple sessions already. And they're students just like us. And for Engineering 57, I sat there with a PALS tutor for like 2 hours doing all the calculations as well. So that's what they're there for. Use your resources. If you don't know where they are, you can reach out to literally anyone and they'll direct you. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing all of that great advice. Can you talk about any internships, research, or organizations that you have been involved in, and how did you get involved in them?
So I mainly am involved with the job that I work with at the School of Engineering. I work as a lab assistant, and though it's not an org or a club, it is like that for me, mostly because I feel like in a club or an organization, you join to get that experience for engineering and to work with people. I was able to get the job for the lab assistant position through CapPause. CapPause is a great way to find positions on school if you guys ever need a job, by the way. And though it's not really an internship, this job really has prepared me for all sorts of things that could probably come at you as an engineer, because it's not always the same thing every day. Like, there's new equipment that you have to learn. You have to kind of be on your toes when it comes to new information. And then there's also like the basic maintenance of equipment, like 3D printers and stuff like that. So I can't speak too much to being involved in internships, though I do really recommend that you should definitely put yourself out there. Summers, you know, definitely be applying for them. I kind of regret in all my years being here, focusing more on academics and not really trying to put myself out there. Don't be afraid to get rejected from companies, because rejection is bound to happen. But put yourself out there as much as you can. Definitely, I would suggest joining orgs. Theta Tau is a great fraternity for engineers. I didn't do too much when it came to being involved in college, because I really wanted to focus more on academics and trying to get my life together. But one thing that I would really want to do if I could go back is be more involved, make more connections, because all the peers that we're surrounded by, you know, they're going somewhere too. We're all here to like help each other out. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. That's my biggest thing to say about that. So, Luis.
Yeah. So from my experiences, so first off, like coming into UC Merced, I was just very like reserved. Like I was kind of antisocial, and like I wouldn't really talk to people much unless like we, you know, they were my friends or whatnot. But as going into my second year, I joined a professional org called SHIP, and it used to stand for the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. And essentially it's a professional organization that essentially helps you develop academically, professionally, and personally. So going into that organization, I was able to meet a lot more people that come from different backgrounds. And because I went into that organization new, it was kind of hard for me to get in just because I didn't really know like who was in that organization. But one thing I definitely can say is the organizations at Merced, they're all very family oriented and are all very humble. going into that organization, a lot of people saw that I was new. They would talk to me, and from there on, I was able to make connections with people within the organization. And really, the biggest thing that I got from that organization is hearing the stories from other people and how they've become successful, how they've received internships, and how they've gotten job offers. In that organization as well, they do have like conferences that they help you attend to. So like every year they have the SHIP National Conference that I go to. And essentially it's like a huge career fair where you can go and apply for internships and get interviews and even get job offers. And that's really helped me in the past because I've been to 2 national conventions, and both times I ended up getting internships that were from a state. I was interning in Indiana, so it really gave me that experience of being able to go away from home, work for a company that I might be interested in, and just get that experience under my belt. So that's what really helped me. And kind of like bouncing on what Jasmine said, make sure to put yourself out there. Join as many orgs as you can, because at the end of the day, everybody's a student, but not everybody's a leader in organizations, and not everybody does technical projects on the side. So like also what Jasmine was saying is make sure that whenever you do have a summer off from school, to take advantage of it, whether it's through doing research or whether it's doing through an internship or just doing a side project. Make sure you do stuff outside of what they give you in class, because that's what really is gonna set you aside from everybody else. Because at the end of the day, everybody at UC Merced gets a degree, but not everybody is involved with those projects or those organizations. So really put yourself out there, and there is an organization for you anywhere on campus, whether it's Data Tau, whether it's SHIP, whether it's SAE. There's definitely an organization for everybody on campus. So definitely put yourself out there.
Yeah, I think Luis was right and Jasmine was right. So like in terms of like academics, I was like Jasmine, like I still kind of am, like I still like, my main thing is like I've focused on my academics, and like I kept my GPA pretty good. And I always try, like, so I was kind of middle ground between Luis and Jasmine where their perspectives are, because like I would always try to get involved in organizations. So like I joined SAE and I joined like the robotics club. And in retrospect, like if I'm being honest, like SAE and like robotics, like there was kind of already a set established like roles already. So like you kind of got to get used to that. But like I don't think you should go into an organization thinking like you're gonna make like I don't mean this in a negative way, but like you're not gonna make like a huge like change in it, or like a huge difference. Like it's about getting into like the rhythm. It's about getting a part of like a team. Like so like when I joined SAE, like it was all very new. Like I did not know what I was doing. But like once you get that rhythm, like you start looking at things like that actually can help you. And like I worked on some reports in SAE, and I got to like, the best thing about joining my orgs was like the people I met. Like, to be honest, like the people I met, I know I can like count on them if I really need help on something, or I can do anything. And I remember like Louis was saying, like SHIP is like a very important. I wish I got into SHIP like freshman year. Like honestly, like I got into SHIP probably like junior year, but I'm like, you know, everything that happened so far with COVID, like kind of like not gonna happen anymore. But even then, I still get emails from SHIP and stuff like about like conferences or about anything like that. So like I do recommend SHIP. And like if I remember correctly, I do remember like Luis was saying he was a sophomore and like he came in not knowing it. But if I remember correctly, you are the president, or you were the president one time. Yeah. So yeah. So you can like, you grow as a person. Like you're gonna start wanting to take on more like higher leadership roles and stuff, and that really helps. I imagine that like, helped him on his internship and stuff like that. And as far as like internships, I haven't had any internships, but I kind of have like, my plan is to go to graduate school and, you know, if you want to go, here's the thing. If you want to go to graduate school, like you work in a lab, like do what Jasmine does, like work in a lab if you want to go to graduate school. Cause that's the best way to like get acquainted with professors and do research, because graduate school is like all designed for research. But if you want to go to industry first, internships are the way to go. And, my experience with internships is like I was pretty lazy. Like I would apply like 3, like you can't do that. You can't apply to like 3 internships and expect to get like one of them in the summer. Like you gotta apply to everywhere. And internships are like resumes, like they're all computerized like in the beginning. Like so like Ship will tell you, like Ship and SE like told me like what to put on resumes to like get past that first step. So like that's very like helpful. And like don't like trip if you can't get like an internship. Like there's a lot of people that can't get internship, or like don't trip if you can't get research. Like I'm still trying to get research, but like it's, I would say the main thing is like Sky recommended earlier, have a planner, like know where you kind of want to go in life in the beginning. It's hard to like know where you want to go, but like try to like, if you want to do like career stuff, like then try to do internships. Just try to like gauge where you want to go. And that's like my experience on it.
Yeah, so like everyone was saying, experience is important because that's what's going to set you aside from every other mechanical engineer looking for a job. So for me, freshman year, I tried to get in every organization I could, but I definitely spread myself too thin and I had to like drop off for some of them to focus on my grades. But I still was like, I would go to some meetings, but not all. I wasn't a super active member like I wish I could have been. But I suggest freshman year finding one, sticking with it, and then as you learn your own study habits, add some more because you never know where your interests. Like they could have a side project. Like I know Ship always had projects that we could be on. I always saw the emails and they were just like, "Do you want to be a part of this?" And I think it was my sophomore year they had like a rover building one, and I went to like 5 of the meetings, and even though I wasn't super involved, they were like talking. I don't know a thing about coding, but I know basics just from being in those 5 sessions. So they were like, anyone know how to code? I was like, I what language? And they were like, okay, this is, they like showed me how to set it up on a computer, how to even get it started, and then SolidWorks, because I didn't take SolidWorks until my junior year. And even with Ship, I wasn't that involved, but they still sent those emails, and it was my sophomore year spring semester. During spring break they had a tour with Glenair, and I was like, it was in Southern California, which is where I live, and I was like, might as well, like I have nothing else going on. And so I went and I toured the facility and it was great. And at the end they're like, yeah, if you guys are looking for internships, feel free to email us. And I was like, no, might as well give it a shot. So I just emailed the guy and I was like, I probably could find it in my email. I was like, hey, like, how do I apply for these internships? And he was like, just send me your resume. And I did. And he was like, when can you start? I was like, me? And so it was literally just on a whim. Like I didn't think I was gonna get it. I had zero experience from then on. Like I literally was just like, I'm a student. I have basic engineering classes under my belt. And like, you know SolidWorks? No, I know how to make a box. And best experience, best summer of my life. They taught me how to use SolidWorks, CAD Key. They put me on a whole team where I actually contributed ideas that are actually in place at the facility today, which was crazy to me. And then I just, going into my SolidWorks class, I was like, I know everything about SolidWorks now. And so I became really proficient in that. And then my junior year, I did like my coursework and everything, and then I joined SWE, which is the Society of Women Engineers, because I was like, where are the girls at? Because I have no girlfriends. I was like, I need to make some friends. And so I joined and I made a few friends, and I still do like the Zoom meetings, like even this semester, and they're all so like nice, and they're like, we were just looking for girlfriends too. And so it's really nice, and they have projects of their own. And so it's good to find a community where you fit in. And then this past summer, don't think you can't do everything, because if you really want it, you can. Mm-hmm. This past summer, I had another internship. Glenair asked me to come back. And so I interned there. And then I also took 3 summer classes. And then I also did a student development with NASA. They have programs, which I highly suggest to everyone. It's just a semester long, it's 12 weeks. They even have some for next semester going on, where you could do a Mission Concept Academy, or a proposal writing academy where you work with actual people who work with NASA. It's not an internship, but you learn skills that they'll take you far in the industry. You learn how to do a Gantt chart, how to actually write a preliminary design review, which is like 100 pages long. I didn't think I could write anything that long, but they guide you through it, and they're like, this is what we do at NASA. Now you know. And then now I'm currently in the proposal writing, and I'm talking, my mentor is at the Ames facility, and the coolest guy I've ever met. And so just finding these things you could apply to, because I was like, it's NASA, I'm never gonna get in. But they're like, yeah, like, doesn't matter if you have experience, like, we want to give you experience so that you can help us. And so that's my biggest takeaway is, if you don't meet the qualifications, doesn't matter, just apply. They could like your personality and hire you. So that's the biggest thing. Apply to anything that you may have a passion for.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that. And you are all doing amazing, and everyone has different stories, right? But I'm glad that you're all preparing yourselves. So we would like to know, and some of you talked a little bit about this, but what are your plans for after graduation, or are you still exploring your options? What are you thinking about?
Personally, for me, one of the way that I have always wanted to go after graduating from college was to get into a job with a good company, a company that would be willing to send me back to school in order to get like a master's, because it's either, it's either you go into the industry. I think Luis was saying this earlier, or maybe it was Jared, actually, my bad. But you either go into the industry or you go to grad school. Personally, for me, after college, like, I've done my studying, I want to get more experience. I realize now that, might not be able to get the exact job that I want. Obviously, when I came into college as a freshman, I was like, oh, like, after I graduate, I'm going to get like an amazing job. I'm going to get like that huge salary, and then like I'm going to go back to school and it's going to be amazing. And now I realize I'm slowing my roll, and I'm considering, again, industry. But at the same time, I'm also like, you know what, it might not be exactly what I want when I get out of here. But that doesn't mean that like I'm going to stop there. Like, I'm going to get the experience that I need to get. I'm going to catch up on whatever it is that I need to in terms of experience, and get to that position that I want to be in before I can go back to grad school. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just I want to get that experience that I didn't entirely get while I was here in college, in terms of being in the industry and being hands-on. So that's my plan for after college.
Now for my side, what plans I have to have after college, or I plan to have after college. So kind of like how Jasmine was explaining, for me, it's very important to apply for a job and get a job in a company that really invests in their workers. So for me, I want to be working at a company that's going to be, because there's a lot of companies that help you financially with grad school, or even pay it completely for you. Personally, I want to go into industry right after college, because all the things that I learned in my 4.5 years of college, I want to continue applying. That way I can sharpen my skills a lot more. And there's no better way to continue sharpening your skills than going into industry and having hands-on experience. So that's my mindset. And as well, because, I still have loans that I have to pay off, I would rather have a company that will invest in my education by going to grad school. So I am looking, at first, I wasn't really interested in going into grad school, like my second or third year, but this, for my fourth year, I got involved with a research assistant position with one of my PIs. Her name's Wei Wang, and she does research on electronic structural for catting out polymers. So that's like getting research experience really opened my eyes a lot more. And it really is one thing that I really want to do. I want to go into grad school eventually. I'm not sure exactly what I want to go in for. And I also am not sure if I want to go into grad school for something technical, like going into mechanical engineering for it, or if I wanted to go and get my MBA for managing, for if I ever wanted to be a manager down the road. But aside from that as well, my plans after college is to start thinking on the side of thinking of like, because in the past I've wanted to eventually start my own business. So on the side, I just want to like take the time away from after college to spend some time and think about some businesses that I might be considered in starting in, just because it's really interesting. I've had a lot of mentors and role models that I've seen that have started their own companies, and I really like the approach of starting your own company and being able to develop your own business and being able to make a bigger mark on this world. So that's something that I want to be participating in after college.
I will say like in terms of like listening to like both their stories, like Jasmine and Luis, like I already know Sky's story, like before she's gonna tell it, because me and her like talked about like what we want to do in life and stuff. But like I honestly like respect like all their stories, because like they're giving you like the honest, like brutal truth. Like, like you're not always going to know what you're going to do in like college. Like, so I just want to say, like, I do respect you guys for like being honest with your guys' experience in terms of like, yeah, like I said, like, you're not going to know, like you plans change. Like I wanted to do internships, then I was like thinking about grad school. It's about like where you're at. Like, so if you're getting good grades, then grad school looks like a good option to you. Cause like, say you don't have internships like I am, like grad school looks like kind of like a way out in some sense. But like in terms of like what I want to do is like I would like to like Louis was saying, like I want to open up my own business. Preferably like I would want to go like in the aerospace industry and open up a business. But that takes time to do, and that's like the end goal for me. So like any means to get there, like I'll get there. But in terms of like I can give people advice on like grad school a lot, because like I've done like I think more research on grad school than internships. So for grad school, you can, if you have good grades, like I think like 3.5 and above, like it doesn't really matter, like because like you said, like with internships, like if they like you, they like you. Like I know people from like I met in like I went to Purdue University to visit, and I met people in Indiana who told me like great advice, and like they didn't have like the best grades or like the best resume. And if they like you, they like you. So like don't get discouraged by that. But if you have, I would say if you're trying to do grad school and you want to do research, I would definitely say like PhD is for you, because PhD is like 100% guaranteed you're going to get funded by the school. Like no bills, like nothing to pay. And they pay you too, being an assistant, because you're on the payroll for like the team or whatever. So PhD is like the best route financially, but it's hard to do. It's not easy. So like it's really, if it's truly for you, like there's that like I guess like good thing about it, that you don't have to pay for school. And masters, like they offer, it's like less opportunity for masters. Like PhDs, like you're gonna 99% of the time you're gonna get like funded if you get into like a research group. But what masters is kind of harder, because like they are reserved for PhD students, but there's still like fellowships you could do. There's still like research assistant jobs. You could be a TA. Like I know some people want to be TA. But like grad school is like, I think very, like me personally, I would go into grad school, like I'm trying to get in grad school after school, because like I've heard from people that grad school is like harder when you're in industry for a while. But like the skills Luis is learning is like not bad either. Like you're gonna need those down the road anyway. So it's just about like what you want to, like what kind of person you are. Can you handle school like after being gone for so long and stuff like that? But yeah, I would say like get a good GPA, try to keep it like around 3.0 at least, like and I would say do what Jasmine did. Like if you're getting good academic grades, like you're gonna be able to like talk to professors more and like do research. So that's definitely gonna help her down the line if she's gonna go graduate school. Like so, I'd say like everyone brings like pretty good advice. But if you want to like, yeah, I guess in the Q&A session you can ask me about more about grad school. But like I have like a lot of knowledge, I think, about it. But like that's where I'm gonna go after this. Sorry if I talked too long, Sky.
Oh, you're good. Um, Yeah, so I guess it's like two and two. I'm gonna be going into the industry after this. I currently have one job offer, but I want to keep applying to places. My plan is to um, test for the FE in December and then start applying to more industries in January. So hopefully I have some job offers by the time I graduate in May. That's my goal right now. I want to go into aerospace, and so my plan is to do 2 years in the work so I can just kind of get hands-on experience and narrow down my focus. What part of aerospace do I want to go into? Because even though aerospace is even like narrow than mechanical, you can get even more narrow than aerospace. There's propulsion systems, there's just the materials behind it. And so that's my plan, is to figure that out in the next 2 years after I graduate, when I'm kind of hands-on, and then go to graduate school for aerospace engineering with an emphasis in what I decide in the end. I'm not sure if I'm going to test for the PE yet, because I talked to my coworkers that are all older than me in the industry for a long time. One of them, he's just went back to school, grad school. He got his BS in mechanical engineering, and now he's getting his master's in electrical engineering. I'm like, how did you even do that? And he's like, just wanted to learn about it. So you can get your master's in anything. If you want to get your BA or a BA in business or something, and then you're like, no, engineering, go for it. You can do that. And just don't like take away an opportunity that you have. One opportunity before the session goes, I shared to Jared, but it's called SciFest, and it's coming up. It's all this week. This is a good chance for you to learn what your interests are. It's all week long, and they're having 24-hour sessions, so you can rewatch them, you can hop in whenever you want. I'll put the link to in the chat, and then they can disperse it. But they're gonna have NASA panelists, and you can actually do like at-home experiments with NASA people. There's people for chemistry. There's people for robotics. Anything that you may like, it's there, and you can go to those specific panels and learn about that. They're also having a career center. So even if you're not at that point where you're like, oh, I know what I want to do, you can just talk to them, be like, oh, I'm taking these classes. This is what I'm kind of interested in. And they will talk to you, because they're looking for the next people. In my academy that I'm in right now with NASA, they were saying that about 50% of NASA is ready to retire, because they've kept on all the older people because they have all this knowledge. Like, why would they let them go? But I mean, they can't be like, you can't retire. And so that's what they're saying. Like, they're all getting there. So they're looking for the next generation to take over and to learn. So even though it's NASA, big name, don't be deterred. They're looking for you. And so that's like my 2 cents, and that's where I'm going. But I'll drop the link if anyone wants it.
Thank you. And we really wish you all the best. You're still students, so you're almost there. And for your last question, what general advice would you give second-year students in just a couple of words?
Slow down. I think that's my biggest advice. You know, when I first came to the school, like I think Sky was mentioning it, like I spread myself really thin. I tried to bite off a lot more than I could chew. I wanted to graduate as fast as I could, be in those top classes as fast as I could. It's okay to, you know, you're where you're supposed to be. So don't worry and take it slow.
Yeah, for me, a piece of advice I would give you is don't compare yourself to others and live your life as if you were the main hero of a movie. I live by that quote just because it forces my mindset every day to do something different and to do something that people would look up to in the near future. So don't ever compare yourself to others, because that's only going to drag you down. Just be you and make sure you're there for people who really need it.
Yeah, I think both of them like are really good pieces of advice. Like I was gonna say, don't compare yourself to others too, because like that is important. There's always gonna be everyone around you is like gonna be better at you than something. Like there's always gonna be someone that's better than you at like a certain material or something like that. So like to like distinguish yourself amongst like a lot of people is hard to do. Another piece of advice I would say is like basically like find like what you're passionate about. Like it's really hard. Like I know family members, like everybody, like doesn't matter what major they are, like they're still trying to find like what they're passionate about. Like that is like your life's journey to find what you're passionate about. So like if engineering is not for you in the beginning, like and say you want to keep tregging on, like give it a chance, like or don't. Like it's not it's not for everybody. I know people who like are still successful and they're not engineers anymore. So like I would say like just find a passion and just try to stick with it. Try to keep your will strong.
Yeah, I agree with everyone. But advice from me personally is if you want it, go for it. I knew I wanted to graduate in 4 years, and that's what I'm doing. And I have two minors I have one in business management and one in applied mathematics. And I took the summer courses since freshman year, and I did one summer course and I worked 40 hours every summer. And then this year I just was crazy, but that's because I wanted it. I wanted to do all those things. So if you want it, you'll find a way to do it. But I do wish that I took another year of college, because something that I just found out in my program was like co-ops. And I wanted, like, now that seeing and hearing people's experience with them, I'm like, that sounds so cool. And I wish I would have done that, because you do take off a semester of school, which was at first I was like, ooh, I don't know, delayed graduation. But the things you learn, they treat you like a real employee when you do a co-op. And that's the best experience you can get. And so if you have the chance to do that, I highly suggest it. I've heard amazing things from the people I've met, that their mentors are still talking to them and they want them back. So it doesn't matter when you graduate. You don't have to meet it in the 4 years. They're not going to kick you out or anything. You can take the extra year or more. I know people who stayed on more because they were doing all these co-ops. Like, yeah, I did 2 here, 2 here. Like, go for it. The more experience you have, the more you'll know what you want to do, and the more things you have on your resume, they'll know you're qualified to do them. So that's my advice.
Thank you, everyone, for your great advice and sharing so much knowledge to our lower division students. Again, we wish you all the best. Stay in contact with your advisors. But this concludes this panel today. So thank you and have a great day.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having
you.
us.
Thank you.